Welcome to the Primo's Musings podcast.
Good evening. This is Shri here, and the Final Four is finally set for the March Madness, and this weekend had some amazing games, some games which went down to the wire. So Dan and I picked all the matchups, and let me just walk through each and every one, how we thought each one would go. Let's start with the games that just ended today. NC State Duke. Dan did pick NC State. He kind of called it almost like a Jim Valvano. The Mojos keeps going. It's amazing what NC State has been able to do. 12 wins. Not 12 wins, but I think they had like 5 plus 4, so 9 wins so far in this tournament, including the ACC championship. Watching that game, it was a close game at the half, but then NC State out-muscled Duke. DJ Burns was just too much, and the guy just can't not just out-muscling Duke at the basket, but he has a very soft touch, and then his passing is just incredible. So they beat Duke again in less than about 3 weeks. So NC State moves on to the Final Four. Let's see if they have the magic to go up against Purdue, but we'll do the recaps later this week. Going back reverse, Purdue playing Tennessee. Again, this was a close game, at least till the middle of the second half. But then Edey was the story of the game. Of course, Dalton Knecht from Tennessee did his best to match point for point. At one point, both of them had 31 points. Edey actually ended up with 40 points, 20 plus rebounds. Just an incredible performance. The performance that gets your team to the Final Four. So all kudos to Edey and Purdue Boilermakers making it to the Final Four in Arizona. Dalton Knecht played amazing, but towards the end, the lead wasn't really big, but a lot of very poor shooting by Dalton, and the Tennessee Volunteers kind of kept Purdue in the lead, and Purdue never looked back. Edey was just unstoppable, making his free throws, just too many Tennessee Volunteer players fouling out, trying to stop him. The amount of fouls that he was responsible for, getting to the line, and then the rest of the Boilermakers ensured that they would get to the Final Four. We'll get to the Final Four, preview sometime later this week, as I mentioned. So Purdue going against NC State, very intrigued about the matchup between DJ Burns and Edey, and we'll get to that later. So both of us did pick Purdue. Let's go back to yesterday's games. We had Clemson and Alabama. That was a great game, going back and forth. Alabama, again, this is a team that many actually picked them to go down in the first and second round, being the 4 seed. Clemson actually started off really hot. They were actually up 10 points in the first half, but Alabama kept chipping away. And I think that's the team, again, just playing its best in the Elite Eight. And they've been scoring a lot of points, and they shoot a lot of threes. And we'll get to Alabama, Uconn later, but both teams played incredible. I think Alabama definitely was towards the end. It was just a battle going back and forth, coming down to the wire. I was very impressed with Mark Sears and Alabama team right now, which won step to the national championship. And who do they face? They face my alma mater, Uconn Huskies. Again, that game against Illinois was a close game, 23-all. Uconn jumped on early, took a 7-0 lead, and then Illinois chipped away. And it was going back and forth, and Illinois actually tied the game at 23. And what happened next would never be replicated in college basketball at this level. Illinois is a top 10 team, and UConn just went on a 30-0 run. And as a fan watching it, it was just almost surreal. It was improbable, and it was almost impossible to do this against a very good team, and that's exactly what UConn did. Clingan was the story of the game, not just blocking shots, but also affecting many of these shots. Shannon did not have his best game. So this became a one-sided affair. By the middle of the second half, the game was pretty much over. UConn was up by 30. And one of the stats in the tournament is that in each of the 4 games that UConn had played this tournament, they were up by 30 points in each of the games. Each of the games didn't pan out the way it is, but they were up by 30, and that's an incredible thing. And then UConn extends its streak. Right now it's 10 games where they have won double-digit leads, double-digit wins. It remains to be seen if Alabama can beat UConn. I was listening to another podcast, and there is a path for Alabama to upset, but we'll talk about that next week with Dr. Dan. But for now, the Final Four in Phoenix has been set. It's UConn Huskies versus Alabama Crimson Tide, Purdue Boilermakers versus NC State Wolfpack. Let's see who gets to go to the final. We will analyze it. It was a lot of good games this weekend with a lot of excellent performances. To me, the performance of this weekend should go to Zach Edey from Purdue, Clingan from UConn, Burns from NC State. So these are the 3 players that really stood out. They kind of changed the game, the complexion of the game, and that's why they're all in the Final Four. UConn makes its 2nd consecutive Final Four. Let's see who gets to the championship game on Monday. Not this Monday, but the following Monday. But for now, all roads lead to Phoenix, Arizona for 1 week of hype. And the game starts Saturday with the early game being Purdue and NC State, followed by UConn and Alabama. With that, I really appreciate everyone listening so far for this March Madness podcast, and looking forward to the previews and then the recaps. A lot more to come. Thank you for listening, and have a good night.
Thank you for listening. Primo will be back soon.